Everyone knows the rule. The iPhone 5C was never meant to run iOS 6. Yet, here it is. And the result feels like an iPhone from a completely different timeline. We've always loved the colors from Apple. From the original bright iMacs to the rainbow of iPods, and eventually the most colorful phone they've ever made, the iPhone 5C. But it arrived at a really strange moment in Apple's history. Right as Apple released this playful candy-colored hardware, they also completely throw away the software. Gone with the glossy buttons, the leather textures, and all the skeuomorphic details of the old era. In their place came the flat, neon look of iOS 7. And that always left me wondering, what if the 5C never made that jump? What if this colorful iPhone still ran the classic interface we all grew up with? Would it feel wrong, or would it actually make the phone feel more premium? Today, we're about to find out. First, let's get into the box. The packaging might look small, but it comes from a time when Apple still included, well, everything. Setting the phone aside for a second, and we have the usual literature, and of course, the Apple stickers. Then we get the lightning cable, the tiny 5-watt charger, and the AirPods, still neatly tucked in their own little travel case. And beneath it, there's even a USB adapter in here. How thoughtful. Today, Apple could easily charge you $20 for this little thing. It's funny how things that used to be standard now feel like luxury. The iPhone sits right here in its plastic tray, and we'll need to peel off the front sticker to finally see that screen. Powering it on, and there it is. The classic iOS 6 home screen. Seeing those familiar icons on a phone that visually belongs to 2013 does feel a bit surreal. Holding this specific 5C today is a strange experience. For years, iPhones were defined by aluminum and gloss, but the 5C went the other way. Smooth plastic, bright colors, and this one has a completely white front panel, the kind of clean look that Steve Jobs would have approved. The last plastic iPhone before this was the 3GS back in 2009, but that phone had a curved back trying to hide its bulk. But holding the 5C here is a very different experience from the 3GS. The first thing that comes to your mind isn't the word plastic, as there's this weird density to this phone. Touching the back doesn't feel like cheap plastic at all, but as if you're holding a polished piece of candy that also carries a strange sense of weight in your hand. You won't find a single piece of visible metal anywhere on the outside, except, strangely enough, inside the software. This is where the contrast gets really interesting. Johnny Ive's vision was that hardware and software should feel like one unified design. That's why the 5C echoes the bright, flat colors of iOS 7. But iOS 6 came from a totally different philosophy. Back then, skeuomorphic design of the iOS didn't just mean for decoration. In a way, it somehow taught us how to use a smartphone. Apps resembled real objects in the real world. Notes looked like the physical paper pad. The calculator had these satisfying glossy buttons. Even the camera looked as if it had real lens and shutters. Back then, smartphones were still new to a lot of people, so these visual cues helped make everything feel instantly familiar. Another reason I want to see the iOS 6 on this hardware is gaming, because this phone was released during the golden age of mobile games, when the App Store felt almost like a playground, full of weird, creative ideas. And let's see how it feels to play some titles that also share the lifelike aesthetics of iOS 6.
Stage 4.
can't describe this feeling with words enough, but it's safe to say that these games feel right at home on this playful iPhone. The 5C never really escaped the shadow of its launch. People quickly nicknamed it the iPhone 5 Cheap, referring to it being the budget option, made of plastic and released right alongside the premium iPhone 5S. But something else happened too. The combination of that bright plastic and the brand new flat look of iOS 7 made the whole thing feel almost like a toy, even though on the inside it was just the same as the aluminum iPhone 5 from a year ago. Which brings us to the big mystery, because technically this shouldn't exist. Apple never released a 5C with iOS 6, and downgrading a real one is basically impossible. So how is this working? And actually, that's not a 5C on the inside. Tucked inside this little shell is a logic board from an iPhone 5, the last iPhone that officially supported iOS 6. A friend of mine managed to retrofit everything into this 5C housing. Every button and every switch works perfectly. It behaves exactly like a native iPhone 5, except it now lives inside a body it was never meant to have. And honestly, after using it for a while, this actually feels right to me. It works like a real product Apple could have shipped if history had gone a little bit differently. It's a colorful phone for a younger audience, but still grounded in that classic Apple design language. The 5C has always been one of my favorites, not because it was most powerful, but it represents a moment when Apple was still experimenting with personality. With this little hardware swap, I feel like I've finally given the 5C the premium soul it deserved to have from the start. So now I'm curious to hear what you think. Which version actually fits the 5C better? The classic glossy world of iOS 6 or the flat colorful world of iOS 7? Let me know in the comments. And I'll definitely be using this device in my future short videos, so make sure to subscribe if you want to see it in action. And if you enjoy this video, please hype it so it can reach more people. That's it for today, and I'll see you in the next one.